The Circadian Weight Loss Program by Dave Mayo. What are circadian rhythms? Circadian rhythms are biological processes that follow a daily pattern. In other words, they go through one cycle every 24 hours, circa meaning around and dia meaning day. Ultradian rhythms are another type of daily rhythm that repeat multiple times per day. Many of these rhythms are anticipatory. They anticipate environmental factors such as feeding, physical activity, and light exposure, and they give an animal and us an advantage in our environment. Cortisol and ghrelin are two such anticipatory hormones. As we're exposed to light during the same times of the day every day, we get a slow increase in cortisol right before we wake up to help us wake up. Ghrelin does a very similar thing. However, it is a hunger hormone that peaks prior to scheduled meals. These hormones and the rhythms that they create help coordinate systems within the body that communicate with one another, such as the muscular system, the skeletal system, the cardiovascular system, the adrenals, digestive system, immune system, and so on. How are circadian rhythms set? Circadian rhythms are set by exposure to Zeitgebers or time givers. These time givers are environmental time setting cues that our body uses to translate into biological action. They include light exposure, the feeding fasting cycle, stress, physical activity, social interaction, temperature, and more. These exposures are translated into hormonal outputs that our body uses. And these hormones communicate between organs and allow them to work with one another to help us survive. However, these hormonal outputs and the communication between the organs doesn't just happen. Our behavior matters, and our behavior has a strong amount of input into how our circadian rhythms are regulated. We also have to take into consideration that circadian rhythms not only regulate hormonal outputs, but they also regulate our cell's sensitivity to hormones. For example, you may have a perfectly normal amount of cortisol in your body, but the glucocorticoid receptor that we use to respond to cortisol may not be listening. We have to take all of this into consideration, and circadian rhythms regulate both aspects of this, hormonal output and our cell sensitivity to these hormones. This is critically important, especially if you're somebody who, for example, maybe feels tired throughout the day, but your cortisol levels are normal. This may have more to do with your sensitivity to cortisol than the actual output of cortisol that you have. Circadian behavioral outputs. So exposure to these time setting cues, some of which are behavioral, helps set our circadian rhythms. However, our circadian rhythms are now going to help alter our behavior. These are circadian behavioral outputs. Circadian rhythms regulate the sleep-wake cycle, so whether you feel awake or you feel tired. Your readiness and alertness, so when you are awake, your ability to have energy and respond to the environment. This is done through the autonomic nervous system. Our metabolism, whether we are storing energy or we are burning energy, and what type of energy we're burning. Are we burning glucose? Are we burning fat? Our mood and motivation, so our willingness to move, our sensitivity to environmental stressors that might make us feel angry or anxious. Our appetite, which is a huge factor in weight loss. In fact, it's probably one of the biggest drivers of non-compliance, which is the ultimate driver of failure. And finally, muscular output, how much strength we have and our ability to perform exercise. Losing weight. Many people get bogged down into the minutia of losing weight. For example, they worry more about macronutrient ratios or how many boot camps they've completed in the week. But ultimately, there are only a few things you really need to address to lose weight. First off, losing weight requires a negative energy balance, which means you have to consume less energy in the form of calories than you burn via physical activity. But this doesn't mean that counting the calories that you eat and the calories that you burn is useful to you, or that it can be an effective strategy to lose weight for everybody. Energy balance is dictated by your behavior, both your conscious behavior and your unconscious behavior. The biggest driver of success in a weight loss program is compliance. In other words, that you take the plan that you have and that you follow it. Most diets will work. I've seen people lose weight on carnivore, on keto, on a regular omnivorous diet full of plants and vegetables, and people can even lose weight on a junk food diet provided they stick to it. The problem is most people don't stick to it. However, it is important to point out from a circadian rhythm perspective that some diets can be disruptive. We will cover that. Exercise is essential but secondary, and what I mean here is that other things that you're doing throughout your day are more important than exercise, but you should exercise as well. Circadian disruption and weight gain. Disrupting circadian rhythms leads to weight gain. There is evidence in humans that working the night shift leads to greater weight gain. Additionally, there are other studies showing that good circadian principles can promote more efficient weight loss. Circadian disruption-induced weight gain occurs both via behavioral changes as well as biological direct metabolic changes. This happens via signal desynchronization. For example, we have several hormones that will help us burn energy, and in particular fat. And if these signals aren't synchronized with one another, they can decrease our ability to burn fat. Additionally, it can increase food intake, which is a behavioral component that is regulated by biological hormonal output. So it will basically cause our appetite to increase or impair our ability to know when we're full. It also decreases energy metabolism. Again, this has a behavioral and a biological component. First, it will make us less motivated to exercise, have less energy to exercise. However, at the cellular level, it does alter energy metabolism and alters what type of energy we're using, whether we are using fat or we are using glucose, or whether we are storing or using that energy. Leptin is a hormone that is required for circadian disruption-induced weight gain. Here we have a chart of in mice of how leptin resistance or increased leptin can cause problems when it comes to losing weight and cause us to gain weight. Leptin functions as a fat thermostat. When we eat, our fat cells fill up and secrete leptin to let our body know that we've eaten enough. However, if we have too much leptin or our cells aren't listening to it, this decouples calories in from calories out, which causes a positive energy balance, which makes us eat more, which makes us gain weight, and which prevents us from losing weight. And there is so much more that we'll cover in the program. Circadian rhythms and weight loss. Circadian rhythms help optimize weight loss. They address both the biological and behavioral components. At the physiological level, they regulate fat storage versus fat burn, or whether you're metabolizing glucose versus fat. It's also critically important in the central regulation of your fat mass, leptin, as I just mentioned. On the behavioral end of things, paying attention to your circadian rhythms can help regulate your appetite, your arousal, alertness, and your energy levels, and help improve your mood. It creates overall synergy between your systems, allowing you to most effectively lose weight. Program modules. The Circadian Weight Loss Program is composed of 5 learning modules to help you understand why circadian rhythms are important to weight loss, how to use circadian rhythms to optimize your weight loss, and how to keep yourself on track so that you can use this powerful science behind circadian rhythms to make sure that you succeed in your weight loss goals. The first module is circadian hormones and their effects on weight loss, the specific hormones that you want to see change and what you will see change when you alter these hormones. Mitochondria and circadian rhythms in weight loss. All fat is metabolized through the mitochondria, and mitochondria are heavily regulated by our circadian rhythms. We'll discuss that and how that can help us identify important factors as well as the type of exercise we need in order to optimize fat loss. How to use circadian rhythms to optimize weight loss. In other words, what are the things you need to be doing every day and weekly to making sure your circadian rhythms are helping you rather than hurting you. Exercise for weight loss. We'll discuss the two primary types of exercise, strength training and cardiovascular exercise, and how we can use each one and leverage their physiological benefits to promote weight loss. Finally, we'll talk about how to guarantee success. With all my programs, I use something called a compliance scorecard that gives you a score showing you how well you're doing. As with all of my programs, it's not about having the highest score from day one. It's about identifying your score and knowing the things you need to do to improve your score over time. Benefits of the program. There are several benefits to this program that are not available in any other weight loss program. For one, circadian rhythms never get addressed. Addressing circadian rhythms not only optimize your biology to promote weight loss, but they also improve compliance by helping you properly regulate your appetite and increasing your motivation to exercise. Circadian rhythms are also separate from diet and exercise, so they are another tool in the toolbox to help you lose weight. It adds another dimension to promote success, specifically by working on the one factor that almost always leads to failure, compliance. Circadian rhythms take advantage of hormonal synergy that will promote weight loss. They'll promote better sleep, higher energy levels, better mood, and more efficient metabolism. Learning these principles and how circadian rhythms can help you lose weight also teaches you how the body works and in essence why weight loss typically fails. And it's something you can take with you forever. Once you learn about these principles, you can apply them every year. It's not like a gym or joining a boot camp or joining Weight Watchers. Once you learn this stuff, you have it with you forever. And I hope that you use this information and see the tremendous results that many people have had applying these principles to their weight loss program.